everyone, this is Royce. I want to come back at you with week 2 of Masters of the Universe Monday. Royce builds Snake Mountain Mega Blocks. And then I originally had started rattling off all the alternative, like the different languages it's in. Montagne de Serpent, Montaña de la Serpiente. And that led me to the realization that I had never realized that Montana was named after mountains. And then that led me to think, like, well, I don't associate Montana with mountains. I associate it with, like, vast plains of buffalo and horses. And that led me to saying, like, oh, I could see myself moving to Montana. They've got a lovely place. Anyway, now you're caught up. I haven't started building yet. My first run through was interrupted by a phone call, very important phone call, talking about my Manjaro. Yes, old Royce got a bad body. You know, he spent decades abusing it. Now I gotta. Now I'm trying. But hey, on the plus side, that Manjaro really good at keeping your A1C at a reasonable level. I was doing that, or like I'm doing that that implant thingy, and we're not here for that. We're not here for that. We're here for this. We're on bag 4 out of like 26, a sixth of the way through, and that's just for the first half of the mountain. Alright, so like one criticism this gets is that you have little micro builds within the main build, or within each step. We'll all be dead by Christmas time this year. Sorry, that was an old Dom song my dad used to sing to us. My dad was not old enough to serve in Nam. But he actually was an Army Ranger for a time. Someone got on me for, oh, wait, hold on. Oh, no. Okay, this is the right one. There are 2 different curved pieces, or 2 different sloped pieces. Someone got on me for blaming all my problems on my dad, and I never blamed all my problems on him. You know, it's like I criticize him. I criticize his politics and like, you know, the choices he had made during much of my life. But I still love the guy. He's still mi padre. Padre. Okay, now which way are we facing? This way. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Then this goes here. Yeah. Man, these things are starting to go in way easier than they had been. It's like they had a meeting and were like, okay, we don't want them to throw us out. We gotta start behaving a little. Oh, come on, you son of a bitch. I'm telling you. Or the game thinks we rolled. What do you mean the game thinks? Fantastic line from that movie. Like, they realize too late what they're dealing with. Excuse me. Oh, Lord. Oh, none of you get weird with that one. I also had a new member. Thank you, new member. I wish I had seen your name before starting this. I'd give you a nice shout out. Okay, got 5. Okay. I think I realized the problem. I had issues with the initial with the initial construction. You know, the assembling of the plates, and that gave me a bad taste. Well, honestly, it started off when I had to deal with these guys. The problem is they're too flexible. They, you know, like. Here, let me show you something. Do I have anyone who? I think you'll work. Yeah. Observe the humble spider ham. His arms take just a little bit of pressure to move. It's not a ton, but it's enough. This allows you to give him items without, like, having him hang onto this flagpole without it being too hard. Now, watch this. Oh, well, that is just a flick. And his legs are even worse. Do you see what I mean? Oh, we're marching in one by one, hurrah, hurrah. Sorry, that's stuck in my head now. Don't you just hate that song? Okay, good. I accidentally used the right piece. Through no competence of my own, I should say, I used the correct piece. Don't you love when you think you've made a horrible mistake and then it turns out you'd accidentally stumbled into the right answer? Because you see, there are these 2 slipper pieces. And each of them has a slightly different directing slope. And so they connect to form this lovely, almost like a master shield pattern. And you need 1 of each for this next part of the build. And then I need a... Oh, Lord. I need you. You. And then I need you. Okay. So. First we start over here with this gray piece. different directions in front of it. Making sure to have the outside part facing outward. Where's the tab go? Oh, goes all the way over here. How are we doing? 11? Okay. Here, forming some lovely rock formations. Because, so Snake Mountain is the fossilized remains of a god named Serpos, I think? I've been doing a little research. And Serpos even exists, and like Serpos had actually been a thing for a long time in the canon of this Masters universe, because in the old comics, He-Man makes reference to Serpos when cussing. Oh, I'll have already made this by the time you see it, but what do you guys think of my prop can of Who Hash? I designed it off the original Boris Karloff Chuck Jones special. And we need... Oh my god, there are two different kinds of purple. I need a stud with a hole in it, but there's two different ones. I think I need deep purple. And then, yeah, because this matches it. So you put this here, and then you put this here. Oh, but you have to twist it. Do the twist. No, other way. Other way. Imbeciles. I'm talking to myself whenever I say that, because I'm referencing when Plankton says that to the residents of Bikini Bottom. Do the crunch. Crunch, crunch. Why is no one doing it? She's my baby. I'll do it. Guys, I'm trying to sing here. Sorry. All right. Well, a three instruction one. My God, it's beautiful. Holy crap, he's a tune. Not just any tune. Remember me, Eddie? When I killed your brother, I talked just like this. Was that nightmare fuel for y'all? I was actually older when I saw that for the first time. I was like 10 or 11 when I first saw that movie. So I was a little beyond it, but I was weirded out. Honestly, I was just weirded out that I'd never heard of this movie before. And, when I first saw Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And I was like, what is this? Why are Donald and Daffy performing together? What are Mickey and Bugs doing together? What the hell is this? Oh. Oh, I see. I've dropped off. Well, that's interesting because son of a boo. Hang in there, baby. The only good joke in that movie. Well, okay, the dirty hoe line's pretty classic too. So, channel member and friend of the channel, Extra Queso, I believe it was, said that if and when I do the Lego Pirates of the Caribbean ship, I should dress like a pirate. Now, here's the thing. I have a very nice pirate hat. You all saw it in my semi-viral short where I was like, the Oblivion Remaster is real! And it's a good hat. It's a fantastic hat. Fits my head perfectly. That is a third, or even a quarter, of a costume that I would need. So I'm looking into puffy pirate shirts to wear, and a vest, and possibly a head bandana. Now, the head bandana should be pretty easy. You know, I got a big head, but it should be pretty easy to just wrap a red cloth around that and call it a day. However, finding a pirate vest and pirate shirt in my size has proven almost impossible. The highest any of that goes is 5X. 3 sizes smaller than me. So if I were to just buy the outfits as is, I would have to cut them down the back and wear them like a smock. Not that I'm like opposed to that idea. I just would like something that I could wear to a Renaissance fair. So what I'm thinking of doing is asking my grandma or my mom, someone who's even, I've got an aunt who has handmade most of my cousin's costumes. I'm wondering if I could send her a couple, give her the, pay her for her work, obviously, but also pay for the materials, and she could make a puffy pirate shirt for me. And maybe a vest. Like, technically I don't need the vest, but like, I feel like if you're doing a pirate outfit, you do need the layers. The layers are what make it. Now the coat, I don't think we're making a coat. As awesome as it would be to have the classic red pirate coat with the gold buttons, to live my inner Captain Hook fantasy. Ain't gonna happen. Because that would probably be too expensive for my blood. Okay. So, turn this around for it. Well, I need to kind of. We're building a trench of some kind, it looks like. Now, this is going to be the hole in Snake Mountain. I'm assuming. So here, if we look at this part here, this is what we're building. Alright, now we need a short one of these, a long one of these, and 2 of these. Singular bricks. Got them as shown Timmy didn't wash his willy, didn't wash his willy. Now he's dead of typhoid. Now he's dead of typhoid. Sorry. I believe that was Jazz Emu. He did the best songs from every decade. And, like, at first it starts out normal, like, Shape of You for the 2010. This was at the end of 2019. So, like, everyone was talking about the new decade. And so he did this joke Twitter thread where he starts off normal, where it's like 2010s is Shape of You, 2000s is 2000s is You're Beautiful, that one. 90s is Mambo number 5. 80s is If I Could Turn Back Time, which that tells me that the most popular song of every decade is just the most popular song of 09, or of the 9th year of that decade, because you'll notice how it's not the best song of that decade. It's just the top selling one of that last year. Then it starts getting weird, because, like, and it starts going off the rails, man. Goes off the rails, man, because, because the next one is, the 70s, and it's the Bee Gees, but instead of actual Bee Gees, it's like a parody of them where it's like, you make me wanna have, you know, like pretending to be the Bee Gees. And then 60s is Doing the Crunch, where a guy says or gives impossible like actions to perform for doing the crunch. Crunch, a crunch, a crunch, a crunch. Why is no one doing it? And then 1950s is a doo-wop song. She's my baby, doo-wop. She's my honey, doo-wop. God, quit interrupting me. By something in the Interrupters. Really funny bit. Man, I'm actually starting to get into this now. Like, yesterday I had so much buyer's remorse. I was like, I wasted $100 on this thing. $120. Speaking of which, there is a friend of the channel. A friend of mine, really. He's not a commenter, and he's no one in my family. I shall call him Mr. J. Which it's funny that the two anonymous gentlemen who I'm working with are Mr. E and Mr. J. I swear I don't do this on purpose. It just works out that way. The guy who makes my thumbnails literally is called Mr. E by some people. And following that naming convention, the guy who I'm talking to, who wants to, he has a friend who lives near me. He wants to send me some stuff. Now, I haven't opened a P.O. box yet. But he's a big fan of Masters of the Universe, and when he heard I was doing this, he flipped his lid. He was so excited. Which I know what you're thinking, like, Royce, you have no friends. Shut up. Oh, flip around. Okay. Oh. Can't tell. I think the major curve is supposed to go on the outside. Then this goes here. Yeah. And this goes here. And then I grab one of these and it goes here. Oh, come on, you son of a bitch. forget you and forget her too. I still love you. I guess the change in my pocket just wasn't enough. I'm like, forget you and forget her too. Sorry. That's some shit. She's a gold digger. Okay. Then. Okay. Doing some weird. We're doing some weird Tetris style building here because, like, we're building around this area so that we can add this here. And then we get this very exotic looking piece to put here. And then it all just goes here. And then we put these two here. That is looking lovely, actually. Why am I liking this suddenly? Like, that's the thing. Lego sets look terrible until they don't. When I first started on Lego Bear Door, I was absolutely gutted at how terrible it looked. And then one day it just started looking so awesome. Like, that's the thing. Perseverance. You have to keep on trucking. This is one where I need to grab the pieces because there's a micro build in it. Honestly, I really shouldn't let people form my opinions because I was way too harsh yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. For me, anyway. For you guys, it was probably a little while back. Maybe? I don't know. I was like, man, this sucks. I'm so bummed out about this. And yes, I did just say bummed out like a frickin' loon. A lovely brick pattern formed by this. Now, alright. And then we put this round piece here. Come on. Push, little one, push. And we put this lovely piece here. And we put this slope here. Remember, plate is a good sign because that means you're making progress. That means that you are finished with this area, nothing else is going on. But this is Mega Bloks, which has a little more exposed studs than Lego, I'm assuming. Because remember, the whole thing with Lego studs is huh. Oh, okay. I guess just one side gets these. Oh, because you're just changing it enough so that it's not recognizable as the exact same piece. That's cute. I like that, actually. It's funny. That's funny. I'm laughing. You really are too much. Now, with your permission, I'm going to do my stuff. Well, what are you going to do? Do the best I can. Wow! The sound of rolling dice to me is music of the air. 'Cause I'm a gambling boogeyman, although I don't play fair. Yes, I think it's much more fun. Yes, I think it's much more fun. I must confess, it's much more fun with lives on the line. Not mine, of course, but yours. That'd be just fine. Release me fast, you will have to answer for this heinous act. Oh, brother, you're something. Excuse me. Oh wow, we're only a half hour in. We're almost done with this bag. Like, we probably have only one or two steps left, given how many, or given how many pieces are involved in every step. Every step you take, every move you make, I'll be watching you. Baby, can't you see? You belong to me. Stop, Grantham. Honestly, the main advantage of having this is the ring light. Like, that gives me so much frickin' light that I need right now. What am I missing here? Like, what? Huh? Where'd that tall slip piece go? Okay, wait. Well, there's something wrong here. I somehow I screwed up. Let's go back. I think I zigged when I was supposed to zag. think this is actually supposed to go. This is actually supposed to go on that side. Christ. No. I did put that on that side. So where is that piece coming from? Ah, found where I was. Oh, I see. Like that. I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. I actually just, I think I almost cut off or carved out a bit of the build. Like I could have easily. But piece counts are important for builds like this. They allow them to inflate the price nice and big and round. And a 3-lengther and a 4. Class of 4. Okay. So you. And this goes here. Excuse me. Oh my god. This is gonna be the episode of mine that goes viral because it's got me farting in it, isn't it? Here's the secret, guys. Everyone farts in their videos. But because of the magic of editing and microphones, you don't usually catch it. I can see that being a good use case for AI. The fart eliminator removes all the gas from your videos because you had way too much food or really greasy, dumb, really gross, greasy food, and now you're ripping hot ass everywhere. You fat slob piece of shit. This goes atop it. Atop the cheese. Bare, naked, like some kind of sus horde. Sorry. Mimetic devices. Mimetic hazards for me. Where I hear something and if it's dumb enough it'll get lodged into my brain. Like, that's why it's a danger to watch Bryn Daniel. If you've never seen him. Is that he says a lot of dumb things and it makes you say those dumb things just by watching him because there's such odd phrases that he uses. Oh, can't you see you belong with me? Every move you make, everything you watching you. Okay, need you to go here. We're sealing, like we're doing what Lego does. We're reinforcing and sealing joints. Come on. There we go. Look at that. That is turning out a lot better than it should be. You know what? I'm in a good mood. Let's do another. I'll be here as long as you want to be here. Number 5. Burger King foot lettuce. Sorry. I had to spit. Didn't want to do it on camera. But I did make it into the trash can. It was an impressive shot that none of you get to see. Yeah. Okay. Now, what do we need here? We need... Nope. Spread this out a little bit. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try real hard, you sometimes get what you need. I remember that was really popular with my dad when he was watching House. House MD. The MD stands for Major Dick. Not really, but like honestly, that's kind of what he was. He was a right bastard. To adults mostly. Like he liked kids. That's something you notice is these guys will have these very acerbic personalities, but they'll draw the line at kids and will treat them nice. That's like Batman's weakness too, is he loves kids, and not in a weird way. Not in the ambiguously gay duo kind of way. So, like, what is up with them anyway? Are they? I don't know. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Friend of friends? That was literally Stephen Colbert's first performance, was in the ambiguously gay duo. It's actually interesting to hear how he got into comedy. Well, how he got into wife was, he didn't know how he was going to afford diapers. The tape he sent in was this rambling mess where he basically begged for a job. Watch Too Funny Not to Fail if you haven't. Fantastic documentary. Yeah, it's about a fluff. It's not a hard hitting subject like Ken Burns documentary, but it is just a really good piece. It's a good snapshot of 90s America. And like the writing style of the time. Oop, wait, no, wrong one. Like, it's weird to imagine, it's weird for me as a modern American, a modern man. Oh, shit. I needed a. Oh. I am the modern man. I've got a secret I've been hiding under my skin. My heart is human. My blood is boiling. My brain IBM. So if you see me acting strangely, don't be surprised. I'm just a man who needed someone and somewhere to hide to keep me alive. Just keep me alive. Apparently, that song is just that song is like in a vacuum a very popular song, but it is part of the most insane concept album you ever heard of. But it's like a really dumb concept album where it's like, oh, in the future, rock and roll is banned. It's rebel music, which like by the late '80s when Styx was, especially by an arena band like Styx, was not. But like what was I saying? Yeah. But I never imagined it like how it's described by, Styx and their little weird music videos. In my head, it's this grim portent of like man hiding behind machines until the two fuse. Not this rebel named Kilroy is hiding disguised as one of the weird yellow-faced robots. Like as a kid, I would imagine basically music videos around my favorite songs. So for oh, that one, okay. And for this one, I was like, I had this idea in my head of this guy having like a security officer or something having to escape this derelict this derelict research station. And you can kind of tell I was playing a lot of BioShock at the time. And like there's this techno virus on board, turning corpses into machine-made monsters. this is something this is actually how I wish Barad-dûr was built, was from the ground up, just pure Legos, not hollow pieces, or not frickin' wall, curve it on a frickin' plate, on a frickin' hinge joint. Like, that Barad-dûr was so weak sauce, man. It's a good build overall, but the way you built those walls was so stupid. Anyway, back to what I was saying before I rudely interrupted myself. Because I'm that freaking insane guy. Crazy man. A crazy man. Anyway, so he's got to escape this research station, and like the further you go, like the further into the mission you get, the more like the more machine-like and grotesque these robot zombies become, and the whole complex is run by a creature known as Mosaic. The Mosley omnipresent system. God, I had a whole name for it. System artificially intelligent computer. Systemic artificially intelligent computer. And no one knew how they were able to get this artificial intelligence into a computer. It had never been done before. And then, and of course, basically they're splicers, but the further you go in, the more grotesque and mutated the creatures become, and so they start off kind of looking like zombies. Then they get more and more machine-like. Like they get these big syringe vampire fangs. They get big metal claws and stuff. Oh, just so horrible, so grotesque and evil. And all the while you're being helped by a former scientist who's trying to help you escape. And it is actually Mr. Mosley, the guy who developed Mosaic. But the last thing you got to do before you escape, Mosley wants you to destroy the system that is powering Mosaic. And you get to the room, and it's Mosley. He has been, the evil corporation that's running the show strapped him down and turned him into a part of the machine. Can't tell if I'm supposed to use literally the goddamn thing. I'm just gonna color match on this one. Anyway, but and he so his brain is being used as part of like a advanced neural processor that's giving Mosaic a sentience, and he wants to die. So that's the whole backdrop to this idea, where it just ends with you having to escape while you've given him the freedom to initiate a self-destruct sequence. So it just starts playing frickin' Domo Grato Mr. Roboto. Listening to like Bardic broadcasts talk about the cool like original versions of characters just reminds me of like where I started with my characters. Because, okay, for those who don't know, I am a wannabe writer, and I've had a bunch of characters since I was a little kid. In fact, my oldest character I've had since literally kindergarten. Before that, I was mostly just imagining. This is really dumb. Uh, before, before I was imagining like my own characters as these critters, I was imagining like weird. I was imagining like IP characters. So I had Eddie from Ed, Edd n Eddy as a lightning ninja, and I had Petrie from Land Before Time as a frickin' scientist. And they were my main characters because they were some of my favorite characters as a kid. But one of my first original characters was a shadow dragon called Suverian. And oh, he's such a cool name, Suverian. And I actually used him in the last manuscript. No, the last manuscript I wrote. I changed him though over the years. At first he was a villain. When he was first introduced, he was like a scorpion he was a dragon with a scorpion claw and tail. Then it turned out that he was actually a demon and an angel fused together, and they separated him, creating Angel Dragon and Suverian the Shadow Dragon. And Suverian was this literal shadow on the wall, like a 2D creature. But then that evolved into he was an imprisoned shadow demon. So he was trapped using Jin chains. So ever since I was a little kid, I've been aware of like what a Jin was because of Aladdin. And in my head I had this idea for characters are characters are like a magical or a magical or demonic creature can be imprisoned using these Jin chains, and the Jin chains were actually used to enslave all of Jin kind when they were fused about a man. Because in the original Muslim theology, I guess you'd call it. Like, I don't want to call it mythology. I don't like calling active religions a mythology. In the Muslim theology, Jinn are a neutral party. They are spirits of flame that do not that when Allah told them that they must bow to man, they refused. So they're kind of like fallen angels in a weird way. Like you have to remember that a lot of the Christian canon is formulated from different bits, which I've always loved. Like, that even plays into how I designed my version of hell, is that it's the conquest of like 9 realms by the princes of hell. So, and I've gone into that before. Y'all aren't here to listen to me jaw about bullshit. Well, you kind of are. Anyway. So, Suverian's final form, as it is, has been around for a little bit, but he is a cosmic dragon. A creature who has existed since before the Big Bang. And he wishes to return to the peaceful neutrality of non-existence. And so the ancient elves called him the suicide of the universe, because he wished to bring back nothingness. He is a remnant of the void before the Big Bang. An eldritch entity, given the guise of a dragon. But anyway, this isn't about him either. It's about I wanted to talk about some of my original my characters that I made when I was in middle school, going on high school. So, end of eighth grade, start of high school, I got into a huge kick designing. No, it might have been I think it was 2007 actually. I got into a huge kick designing. We're making our own custom piece now. We need this and two of these. Designing heroes and villains, and because it started with seeing my cousin's Commander Cobra figure. Now, this isn't my cousin I live with. This is actually his brother, who we have not heard from in over a year, by the way. He moved to California last year, and for all I know, he got abducted by a cult. Anyway, I may have stolen that Commander Cobra because I had designed a character for him that I called the Masked Wizard. Which, unfortunately, now that I'm saying that out loud to you all, sounds a bit like a KKK thing. No, the Masked Wizard is an elemental, and like you can tell that I grew up on Ben 10 and Yu-Gi-Oh because this should sound very familiar. He is a 10-year-old boy who transforms into a powerful figure and must keep it secret from his family. Like very Shazam coded or Yugi Moto or Ben Tennyson. But but like and like but like no, not that one. That one. No, not there. There. And he was this like big. He was this major. But like the character design has not changed at all. If I find some of the art I've commissioned or made of him over the years, I'll try to post it. Get on there. And his dad was always the chief of police, like he still is. You know, I'm a big Commissioner Gordon fan, so of course there's like a bedraggled father who's this like chain smoking detective slash cop or slash you know police commissioner. I don't even know what a freaking commissioner is. Like, commissioner implies that he commissions police officers, so he wouldn't even be involved in investigating usually, right? He'd be like a desk jockey. So maybe it is better if I write him as a detective. Pump jockey. Works for tips. Oh man, I'm remembering one of the best parts of the new King of the Hill season. Your dad was one of the fitty men? the next 3 hours, your ass is mine. Anyway, but I also had like a bunch of villains for him that I made too. So the first one I made was Rage, which has been the name of a bunch of characters. Like, there's a ton of comic characters named Rage, I think. Real name, Jacob Grizzle. So, Rage and the Masked Wizard share an origin story, originally, where both were spirits imprisoned within a magic amulet. And then Jacob Grizzle takes David Johnson hostage, and both end up getting electrocuted. And the charge goes through the magic amulet that Grizzle has stolen. And so a spirit of destruction is unleashed, is put into Jacob, and a spirit of magic is put into David. Like, yeah, it's kind of dumb and schlocky, but I was in 8th grade, man. You know, it was 2007. The MCU was just around the corner. Just around the river bend. Just around the river bend. Oh, na, na, na. Oh, shh. Okay, yeah, I got that right. Yeah. I don't know. Ah, I think I missed one. Yeah, I missed one. Ah, well. No, I'm done. And then, meanwhile, alternatively, uh, David's father, Caleb, has captured 3 wanted criminals. A daredevil, a mob leg breaker, I believe a what do you call it? Arsonist, and a serial killer. The serial killer is the only one who ends up going anywhere. Jackson Forrester, the Jack Frost killer. And this was a personal one for old Detective Caleb Johnson, because as Forrester had killed his wife, David's mother. Oh, you know, high drama. And Jacob Grizzle, meanwhile, is like, he's really going through it. Because, like, here's the thing. Jacob Grizzle's not a he's not a terrible person, but he suffers from an intense rage disorder, and he's just had a spirit of chaos enter his body, so he is going through it. Number 6. 6, 7. 6, 7. And this chaos spirit gets more powerful with anger. You know, kind of Hulk-like, right? And so Jacob is transformed into this thing of pure disaster energy. Like, he becomes this. He becomes rage, the disaster elemental. Now we'll do one more. It looks like we're almost finished here, too. Wait, look at that. That is... Oh, Lord. Okay. Okay, I need one of the ones with holes in it. Yeah, that one. 6 by 6. Yeah. That one goes there. Yeah, do you have a twin? Yes, you do. That goes there. Then there's a 8 length one. Yeah, that goes here. And then there's a shorter one. Yeah, that goes here. Okay, then we get 2 of these curved pie pieces. And a 4 by 4. And 1 4 by 1. Perfecto moon doe. A deer. A female deer. Ray. A drop of golden sun. Me. A name I call myself. Tea. A drink with jam and bread. Fa. A long, long way to run. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. La. A note to follow, so. here? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Right. I forgot these weren't attached yet. Anyway, so Rage gets all the convicts to become his disaster demons. Kind of the horsemen of the apocalypse for him. And they become Scorch, Earthquake, or like Rock Slide. That's it. Scorch, Rock Slide, Dust Devil, and Frostbite. And they just go wreaking havoc on the small town, town that they live in. Like, there's this local science facility that's got a hadron collider. They're experimenting with it to destroy nuclear waste, and they stick the guy who invented it into it. And he's got like special equipment on to help him resist the basically like resist being turned to nothing by the hadron collider. There. But it like horribly mutates him because he escapes, but not before being just like being turned into an entity of dark matter by it, and so that becomes his name, Dark Matter, and he has like gravity control powers and stuff. I forget how the Masked Wizard defeats him, but he eventually does. You know, the hero saves the day. And I need a smooth plate. But then the next one, then the next like arc would be Masked Wizard meeting Divine Comedy. Now I had a weird obsession with Divine Comedy as an 8th grader because I believed that Divine Comedy as a concept was really interesting. Like not the whole hell thing. No, I had attributed my own meaning to this little parable because I genuinely believed for a while that Divine Comedy was named such because it's a reference to how everything is funny from a cosmic perspective. Later to find out that that's not what Alighieri meant at all, and that it's actually that he was forced to pick a genre for it, and he was like, "Well, it's not a tragedy, so I guess it's a comedy." I think I screwed up. Ow. hurts. Like, when you screw up, it really hurts to get these apart. Okay. Ow. God damn. Oh no, I did it wrong. I did it wrong. Okay. Okay, I need one with a steeper thing. That one. I need a little cheese wedge to go in front of it. Anyway. But, so, in my writing, Divine Comedy was this cosmic trickster who gave just punishments to, people he deemed evil. Like, that's the thing, is that he is in a weird way, he is ultimately serving the greater good, but he does it in a way that most people would find morally objectionable. You know, cruel and unusual punishment. I think you like even just saying that. I just imagined what his response would be. Cruel, maybe. Unusual, yes. But undeserved. Yeah, yeah. You know, he'd what's the word? Launder is already. I don't know. I don't know if launder is the right word, but he'd like kind of. Some may say, Tommy, you're the one who's saying it. No, you don't need to launder your argument. I think it's funny that the creator of one of the worst videos on the internet is someone I actually like as a creator, usually. I'm speaking of the H-Bomber guy. He made Fallout 3 Sucks and Here's Why, which is an objectively terrible video. Like, if you find his arguments compelling, you're an idiot. Which, I know if he were listening, he'd probably say something witty like he did when he was talking about Tommy Tallarico insulting people who he claims don't respect him. This is an all-time Tallarico classic. Insulting someone while talking about respect. Our classic Tallarico maneuver. Is Tommy Tallarico just a shadow in a cave? 2022 had 3 of the best videos ever made on YouTube. Like, we could have just stopped after that. So, it was the oof sound effect by him. And, the Walt Disney, or the Disney Channel jingle by Defunct Land. And visiting every Rainforest Cafe by Eddie Burback. Being fucking audited? Sorry. Be my honor to be the next Ted Sim. Okay, we gotta extend this weirdly. So we connect these two here. But then we also put a purple brick here and a purple brick here. So when that goes, oh Lord, okay. Here. Oh, get on there, you son of a bitch. Fuck the man. Like, I'm sure anyone who likes my channel probably has already seen the Eddie Burback goes to every Rainforest Cafe video. Just an all-time banger of a video. But it's interesting how Defunct Land and H-Bomber Guy, totally separate of each other, made two very contrasting videos about how people who about like the nature of credit, especially in reference to sound design. With H-Bomber Guy making this beautiful tribute to one of the to like the guy who gave us one of the biggest demonic devices of our childhood. And H-Bomber Guy doing this scathing takedown of a fraud who has lied his way through the industry for decades without anyone calling him on his bullshit. And it gets to the point where H-Bomber Guy's just like he doesn't even, he's not even sure if the guy's a real person or not, or he's like a shadow on a wall, on a cave wall, like Plato's The Cave. Okay, that's why it's. I was worried that it wasn't. That there was something wrong with it. Devil Ether. Yeah, like Village Drunk and some early Irish novel. the frame. Oh shit! The guess the film frame was Goldmember, and I immediately sent it to Mom, hoping that she'd play it just to jump scare her with Austin Powers, because she hates Austin Powers because it was, again, something me and my siblings would quote relentlessly. It was like, God, that was a gorgeous time to be a kid. I was a kid during some of the raunchiest comedies that kids should not watch, but man, am I glad I did. Oh, we're building the skull face. Look at that, because this is gonna. Okay. So this is gonna go on here, and it's gonna make a cool skull face. I think it goes here actually, because you got a tooth there. So I am Rock Tor. I'm Dr. Roxo, the rock and roll clown. I do cocaine. So when you make the structure out of Legos, or in this case Mega Blocks, it's called brick built. Which sounds obvious, but like there's a lot of different kinds of, quote unquote brick built. Haha, Bruce. Sorry. Once again, more mnemonic devices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I need 3 of these. I beg your pardon. So first we need. Okay. Oh, we're gotta do some major. Oh. Gotta do some major building here. All right. Now we gotta add a back to this cheese wedge, or add like a face to this cheese wedge, I should say, like a stud face. Okay, and then we put this on top. Ow. Mother effer. Oh, that hurt. God, fuck. Okay. So then we add this here, giving us a nice little wedge there. And then we put this here, giving us an outward facing cheese wedge. Ow. Oh, man, my fingers are raw. And we finish the eyes on this part and start the finish on this part. Alright, what do you think? Nice? Alright, that's been an hour 40. Something that would not have been possible on the old system. We're actually really humming through this now. We're getting into our step. I'm getting used to it. I am going to get all kinds of calluses from this. I am not going to be able to play Angry Birds ever again when I'm done with this. God, how do Mega Bloks